Welcome to the Korea Pro podcast. I'm your host, Jeongmin Kim, the editorial director of Korea Pro.
And I'm John Lee, the editor of Korea Pro.
Join us for a weekly 15-minute conversation as we dive into the most pressing stories shaping South Korea and dissect the most complicated ones for you.
From politics to culture, technology to society, we've got you covered. So stay ahead of the curve and never be sidelined again.
So get ready for a fresh perspective on South Korea's news. This is the Korea Pro podcast.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Korea Pro podcast. It is now Thursday, April 10th. It is close to 5 p.m. and
John had a rough night.
I feel like 10 years have passed this week.
Right, especially after last night. Trump's being very interesting, to say the least, when it comes to his tariff strategy. He's gone back and forth on a few things, and he's doubling down on other things. And let's just kick off with a 1-minute version of what happened last night, basically.
Well, firstly, I wrote this piece already for Korea Pro. My actual original title was, I see that you're reading this, which means that you haven't jumped out of the window yet. May I persuade you to change your mind? But, that was a bit too long. It exceeded 80 characters, and that's a hard limit, so I had to change that.
Mm-hmm.
So what exactly happened? Well, in the U.S., the Trump's reciprocal tariffs kicked in. 26% for Korea, 24% for Japan, 34% for China, etc., etc. All of that kicked in. And that caused a panic among U.S. investors because the U.S. imports a lot of stuff to manufacture a lot of stuff. And so because reciprocal tariffs kicked in and all the prices are going up without really factoring anything that might happen to demand, stock prices just plummeted. Now, that was to be expected.
In any specific regions or everywhere?
It was a bloodbath. It was a red tsunami. And so, but that was expected. What was not expected was what happened to the bond yields. Now, bonds, as everyone knows, is what people lend to the government, and yields are basically the interest that you get from those bonds. Now, those long-term bonds, 30-year bonds, the yields started to go up. Now, this is very unusual. Usually, stocks and bonds, they go in the same direction, up together, down together. So when the yields went up while stocks went down, because this is so unusual, what this basically means was that they were screaming, oh my God, we are all going to die. And so while this was going on in the US, which wiped out trillions of dollars in just 4 days, mind you, the rest of the world was having a heart attack and was dying. The South Korean won plummeted to 16-year lows. We reached a level that we had not seen since March 2009. The Kospi was tanking. And everyone was also really seriously contemplating jumping off a bridge. And so that was when I was writing my piece about how this was all just leading to chaos everywhere. And then I went to bed. And then 20 minutes after I went to bed, at around 2:30 a.m. Korea time, Donald Trump blinked. He reversed course. He said, okay, all reciprocal tariffs will be on pause for 90 days, except for the baseline 10% tariffs, except for China. China's tariffs are at 104%, or was at 104% last night. And China responded with its own tariffs, 84%.
84%.
And because of the 84% tariffs that China imposed, while I was asleep, Donald Trump said, okay, fine, 125. And yeah, that's where we are at right now.
Right. Okay. That's much longer than 1 minute. So let's dial us back to South Korea related questions. Why? So South Korea got a reprieve as well?
South Korea did get a reprieve. As I said earlier, we were initially hit with 26% reciprocal tariffs, but that's gone right now, at least for the next 90 days.
By the way, there has been some confusion between 25% and 26% in the start of the week.
Yeah, that has to do with that gigantic card that he had in front of the White House as he was giving that speech, and it said South Korea 25, but then later on he corrected it saying, no, it's 26, based on cockamamie numbers. But yes, 26%. But again, for 90 days, that's been put on pause. And because it's been put on pause, the Kospi rebounded this morning, on Thursday morning. So we're back at the 2,400 range, and the Korean won stabilized at around 1856 won to the US dollar, which is better than 1885 or whatever it was yesterday. And so, the South Korean economy has hit a reprieve, but it's only for 90 days.
Right. What happens in July?
Well, that's when the 90 days time is up. Now, we have to look at what happened with Canada. When Donald Trump said 25% tariffs with Canadian automobiles and everything for 3 months was put on pause, he kept his word. 3 months later, the tariffs went back up. And so this is likely something that he's going to do again. Or maybe he won't even wait for 90 days. Maybe he'll just wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, I changed my mind again. Let's have another round of tariffs because it was so fun the first time around.
Right.
And we are in a world of chaos.
Okay, to summarize, it's very unpredictable. But let's go back to that 84% that you mentioned. Is this going to impact South Korean industries at all, like semiconductors?
Yes, very much so. Because South Korea needs to import a lot of parts from the US to make those semiconductors here in South Korea. But if China imposes 84% tariffs for the US prices go up. And if U.S. prices go up, so do South Korean prices. And so that's going to have an indirect impact. And it's not just Chinese tariffs. China has also imposed a lot of heavy restrictions on rare earth mineral exports. They listed at least a dozen companies just yesterday, U.S. companies, because they said dual-use technologies. But it's not just for the U.S. This is now global. And if South Korea cannot get access to those rare earth minerals that it needs, then it's definitely going to impact South Korea too. So South Korea is just being hit from everywhere. It's being hit from U.S. protections and Chinese protections. And the EU also said yesterday, don't forget about us. And they also imposed tariffs on the U.S. And this is unprecedented.
Right. And so and South Korea is entering an official election campaign cycle. And if I were any of the candidates or campaign teams that are preparing the pledges on econ and trade, I don't envy their positions right now.
If I were one of them, I would say, I quit. I'm going home. I'm going fishing. You do you, and don't call me ever.
Yeah, because you basically cannot predict what's going to happen after 60 days, right?
You cannot predict what's going to happen in 5 minutes, which is exactly what happened. I went to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then 20 minutes later, he reversed tariffs.
My apologies, dear listeners. John is on adrenaline rush right now, a little bit after a sleepless night. But last question to you on this.
Just tweeted it.
Not X.
Truth Social did.
Yes. Last question on this topic to you, John. Calm down. The World Trade Organization's role in all this. You mentioned this in your article. I'm going to say its role is diminished, but it's an understatement. What are some of the South Korean options when there is this sort of, WTO role being so diminished, like almost none right now?
Okay, so the best way to compare the WTO to something that we all know is Kim Il-sung's corpse. It's there, but it's not as spry as it used to be. Again, the WTO is useless.
John.
Okay, in order for the WTO to function, and when countries have disputes, they need to take it to the WTO and ask for an arbitration.
Right.
Now, it can do that, but when the decision is made, they can appeal it. But there is no appeals process anymore because Donald Trump in 2017 said, they're being unfair to the U.S.
Oh, stop doing the impression,
and
John.
So, stopped nominating those appellate judges. And then by 2019, because all of the terms ended, there is no appeal judge at all. And so because there is no appeals process, why would you go to the WTO for anything? So it's basically just like Kim Il-sung's corpse.
So like internationalism, liberal whatever system internationally, the era of multilateral connectedness. It's
the post-1995 world, 1995 being the year when the WTO was created, is over. World trade, removing barriers, that's gone. We are now in a world where trade is being used as a cudgel. It is being used as a tool for nationalism. We are going to be looking at regional trade blocs. And this is, again, unprecedented. When we had the Great Recession, when we had the Asian financial crisis, yes, they were bad, but they occurred within a functioning World Trade Organization funded, organized world order. But that's gone now.
And on that bombshell about unpredictable things, let's actually move to South Korean domestic politics related issues. Joon Ha, can you just quickly walk us through the timeline that we are looking at after the authorities announced the June 3rd as the election day?
Yeah, so as you just mentioned, the Prime Minister's office, they announced that June 3rd, 2025 will be the date where South Korea picks its next president to take office by June 4th, since there will be no transition team. We'll see most of the action happen immediately after April 15th, where the PPP, the People Power Party's candidate registration will also take place over 2 days from April 14th to April 15th. Following the document review, the party will announce the contenders who advance to the party's first primary round on April 16th. And then on May 3rd, the PPP will decide their final candidate. The DP hasn't announced their schedule just yet, but we will update that in due course. The overseas voter lists will be finalized in early May as well. And then voter rolls will be compiled by mid-May. The official candidate registration period, so for all parties and all politicians who are choosing to run for the country's top office, will be from May 10th to 11th.
This is after the primaries, right?
After the primaries. And then the official campaign period, where all of the buses and all of the dancing and loudspeakers and the
weird lyrics, cringe aspects.
Can we just skip all of it? We know who's going to be the next president anyway.
Not just yet. We still have institutions, unlike the United States. And
good point. Touche.
And the election campaign will continue on until June 3rd, where we will see quite a number of the top candidates show up on TV programs where they will debate.
And it's a national holiday on June 3rd. And can you remind us why the deadline for resigning from public offices is May 4th?
Well, you need to have 30 days before you run for an election. And also that is written into the National Election Law Act.
Right. So if you are something like a mayor or a lawmaker, you have to resign from your post. So right now, who already resigned?
Daegu Mayor Hong Jun-pyo has resigned.
He already announced that he will be resigning like right after the Constitutional Court ruling.
Indeed. Right now, currently, all of the incumbent mayors and those in positions of city roles or city leadership roles, they have announced their candidacy, but it will be in due course
when they will announce it in the coming days.
But in the PPP, some of the mayors actually said that they won't run and that they will be announcing who they will be supporting soon, like non-Daegu mayors who initially wanted to run. Han Dong-hoon announced that he is running today.
He'll be running, yes. So he did announce his candidacy just today in front of the National Assembly, where he was calling for an Asian, not an Asian, actually.
Economy NATO, but yes. NATO stands for something else, which is
National Alliance for Trade Organizations.
New Alliance for Trade and Opportunity.
He is so smart. I cannot wait to vote for him.
So he is pledging things like that. Lee Jae-myung also is doing, or did he already do the video thing?
Yes, so he announced his campaign bid through a 10-minute video where he...
Like a documentary style?
Yeah, quite a documentary style, where he circled his positions on what his vision was for the country. I believe that he will be reporting to the public from his campaign office tomorrow.
Okay.
On his actual vision for the country, laying out his policy directives.
Right, and Joon Ha, you went to Ahn Cheol-soo's announcement in Gwanghwamun in front of the General Lee Sun-shin statue. What was he saying?
So one of the interesting things that he said was, he never knew, or he never even dreamed of the fact that Yoon would actually impose martial law, and he regretted the decision of doing the 단일화, coming together with Yoon in the final moments of the
unification candidacy.
Well, remember that time that Ahn said, though, well, I will be supporting Yoon.
Yes, indefinitely. But it does not seem to be the case now. Also, another interesting thing that he said, and it's been quite a recurring theme throughout all of the presidential candidates or the presidential hopefuls that are coming out onto the scene right now, is that whether to move the presidential office from Yongsan to the Blue House or to Sejong. And Ahn Cheol-soo has put out his position as that he will move back to the Blue House.
But whichever way that they choose, because Yoon already moved it to Yongsan, whatever way that anybody chooses, it will be a lot of budget use, right? So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And also, it seems like one of the biggest topics right now is constitutional amendment. Like it seems like all the different presidential hopefuls have different vision of how they want to amend it. But I just want to remind everybody that constitutional amendment, we have been talking about this for like 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen.
I don't agree with that. It could happen.
I think it could happen too.
It could happen, but these
Your
candidates...
optimism disgusts me.
it still may happen, but then by the look of it right now, everybody has different ideas.
There's
of
no
how,
compromise.
Right, and also the goals are also different, it seems. And right now, many of the conservative presidential hopefuls, when they mention the options for amendments, they include these aspects where whoever wins the next presidential election do not get to apply for a second term.
Well, that's what the Constitution already says.
Yeah. So it looks like many of the people are aiming at like a US presidential sort of system because it worked so well.
Brilliantly.
Yeah.
So well. America. Yeah.
Looking to stay informed about South Korea's fast evolving political, business and cultural landscape? Join us on Korea Pro, the go-to resource for in-depth analysis expertly curated by top-tier professionals. And now you can pick the membership level that best suits your needs, thanks to our new subscription packages. Starting at just $199 annually, you can access daily analysis and our weekly podcast. Or try our premium membership package, which offers additional perks such as executive briefings, monthly reports and forecasts, networking receptions and event opportunities, as well as much, much more. To find the best fit for you, just head to signup.koreapro.org and become a member today.
Week ahead, we have April 15 coming up next week. We have been mentioning this for quite a while. What is it?
It is the date when the U.S. Department of Energy formalizes putting South Korea on the list of sensitive countries.
Unless acting President Han Duck-soo gets to negotiate that beforehand.
Which will cost him about, another $10 billion from this country's treasury?
Sure.
Why not?
He is extra pessimistic today. And also not to mention that we will be seeing more signs of who the potential cabinet nominees might be under different campaigns, looking at their think tanks that they are launching. Under those campaigns, we will see more candidates actually throwing their hat in, and we might actually see DP policy pledges very soon. PPP already issued 7-point visions, but half of them are the things that they have been saying every single time, like, better welfare for the socially vulnerable people.
And you wrote an analysis for that yesterday, right?
Yeah, so check it out on koreapro.org.
And on Friday, I'll be writing a piece on the timeline for the presidential election and what to look out for. So please do look out for that when it's online.
And all of this information will be sent to your email inboxes by Monday at 2 p.m. via the Week Ahead newsletter. So if you'd like to know more, please subscribe. Try to have a good weekend. Bye.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in.
If you want to know more, sign up for our daily executive briefings. We brief you on all you need to know from the past 24 hours and why they matter every morning in your inboxes.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for your weekly dose of insight. And until next time, I'm Jeongmin Kim.
And I'm John Lee. Stay connected, stay informed, and we'll see you next time on the Korea Pro Podcast.